Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Friday Reflections on this, the 28th of August 2020. Today I wanted to read from this book, Through the Eye of the Needle, Counsel for Spiritual Survival in the Last Days by Mawlana Shaykh Nazim Adil al-Haqqani. And this book is from 2007 and contains some of Mawlana's later sohbet. And I'm going to read a little from sohbet number 4, which I think there's some important points here that I think people should really reflect upon and think about. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. The sohbet is called Shaitan's Mission. Shaitan being the Arabic for Satan or the devil. We are running from Shaitan to Allah. Shaitan is a dog, always running after mankind to bite him, never getting to be friendly with mankind, never going to be just to mankind, never going to be true with mankind, never going to make mankind happy, never going to make mankind servants of their Lord. That is his mission. You must understand, all of us must understand, that is the mission of the Shaitan. His mission is troublemaking, and that trouble is for mankind. He is not going to make trouble with angels, no, because the heavens are protecting the area of the angels. It is impossible for Shaitan and his armies and helpers and supporters and agents to go up and reach angels' level. He would be kicked out and thrown down. He does not even take too much care about animals, because animals are not carrying any responsibility. His mission is only for mankind, to take them away from servanthood. His mission is to give trouble to mankind. His mission is to destroy everything that mankind is doing and working on, asking to destroy it materially or spiritually, running after mankind. And whoever is following him must fall into endless troubles. As long as a person is following Shaitan and his ways, following his teachings, at every step, at least one trouble, and after that, countless troubles should surround him. Every trouble is bringing sufferings to mankind, and every trouble that mankind is falling into because they are following Shaitan and his teachings, giving poison, and the lives of people are becoming poisoned. They are saying air pollution. In so many countries, people are putting something on their noses and mouths because the atmosphere is dirty, and more than dirty, poisoned. They are drinking and poisoning their drinks also. And everywhere that mankind is running, in every field that mankind is running after Shaitan, at every step they are going to find a trouble, and they're going to be surrounded by a poisoned atmosphere materially, and then that material poisoning will affect their personality. That personality represents their spiritual being. Our spiritual being is so nice, so handsome, so beautiful. But because of that poison, our personality is going to be changed to an ugly appearance. So many people now are coming to me, and they are complaining, old ones and young ones, youngsters, men and women, boys or girls. New couples are coming. They were so lovely to each other for some months. And then they are coming and saying, "Oh Sheikh, what is your advice to me? Because my husband doesn't love me anymore." And she looks like the moon, so beautiful, but she's complaining. that her husband does not love her as before, saying to her, I'm fed up with you. And sometimes a wife is coming and saying, I'm just fed up with my husband. I would like to divorce. I am saying, your husband is such a handsome person, a good one. But she is objecting and saying, but I can no longer carry him. That means their personalities are poisoned by the causes, by the reasons that are surrounding their lives and putting on the eyeglasses that Shaitan is using to make false appearances among people, to make a fasad, a corruption. Everywhere, now it is their problem that they are not able to carry each other, the wife her husband, and the husband his wife. Before, the love that people were running after was giving them some lights, and their faces were getting brighter day by day, because they were doing their Lord's service. And every service dresses men or women in lights and beauty and familiarity. But now, people, they're never interested in their Lord's servanthood. In heavenly service, in a divine presence, they are never taking any care. Therefore, that's coming to them as a punishment. The wife looking at her husband and saying, so ugly, repulsive. The husband looking at her and saying, such a dirty face, astaghfirullah. And trouble is growing among people, and people, they are thinking that this crisis is growing because of economic aspects. That is not true. It is not the result of an economic crisis, no. But they are never speaking on that point. That is the most important point, to say that because people are running away from their Lord's servanthood. They are going to dress in ugliness, men and women. And they are coming and saying, oh Sheikh, I think that some people are doing black magic on me because my husband doesn't love me as before. Or men are coming and saying, perhaps someone is doing black magic on me. My wife doesn't love me as before. All of them are lies, imagination. They are not mentioning the most serious point that is giving that trouble to mankind, to say because you are not taking care of the servanthood of your Lord. You are not going to dress in light and beauty. You are remaining only with your physical beauty, and physical beauty is going to be like plastic figures, mannequins, in shops. They may put clothes on the figures of men and women, but it is nothing. No taste with that plastic body, never giving anything to them, men or women. But if a person lets himself or herself be dressed in heavenly beauty, garments are a result of blessings from Allah Almighty. They will never lose their familiarity up to the end. He may be 80, 90, 100 or more, never changing because he is always dressed in that lovely characteristic. There is a piece of traditional knowledge coming from the Prophet's heavenly knowledge that says if anyone wants to be seen or to be dressed with beauty on themselves, they must try to be awake at midnight and dawn time, because that is the time that lights brighten, coming and dressing people. Therefore, those who are praying midnight prayers and dawn prayers, they should be known by their faces. Allah is giving to them a bright and familiar uz. If anyone wishes, he or she may pray to their Lord, because at that time Allah Almighty is sending angels with heavenly lights and heavenly dressings to be dressed on his servants who are in his divine presence on earth, praying to their Lord and giving their high respect. But people, they have lost it. They are insisting on doing beautification on their faces or on their bodies, and they are spending not millions, but billions of dollars, billions of euros, to buy this small jar of cream, cosmetic, for making their faces good looking. I was in South Africa. I went to a warehouse so big that when I looked up, my turban was going down at the back so high. And small trains were running in it to carry these cosmetics, to bring them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 trucks were coming. As a ship comes to port, they were coming to take these cosmetics, and they were saying, you know, one small jar, how much it is? I don't know. Is it Turkish money? No, their money. They were saying $5, the smallest one. This building was full. I was saying, they can buy all of Turkey with this warehouse and its contents. So many. All for what? For ladies, using this to make themselves young, till no teeth are left, they are buying, and young ones also. They are not saying that Allah is giving to them beauty, but they are asking to use something to be more beautiful. Can't be. As long as men look at women, it takes away from their beauty, from their faces, from their bodies. The ones who are guarding their faces and their bodies, and their faces are always fresh and smooth, without using cosmetics. They do not know the main source of beauty and from where it comes. Now I'll leave it there. I mean, this is the book if anybody wants to read the whole sohbet. I'm not going to go into the rest at this time because it is quite a long sohbet, and also goes into cultural aspects that are from Mawlana Shaykh Nazim's culture. But this main point, that people are not looking at the source of where things are from. I mean, where does our beauty come from? Where does the handsome looks of men come from, or the beauty of women? And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And instead of appreciating this and focusing on the source of where beauty comes from, modern society is all focused on outward appearances. And people are not looking at their character, at the kind of person they become, at what they develop, which is an internal characteristic. This is where true beauty comes from. I mean, all of us have met at some point or another someone who we felt was extremely beautiful, or a lovely person. And yet, actually, if you look at a photo of that person, you will also realize that they are very old, or their standards of beauty don't come up to the conventional standards of beauty that have become conventional among society. And yet they are extremely beautiful people. And that's because their character is beautiful, their personality is beautiful, and it shines through. If we only focus on the outward beauty, and we don't focus on removing the bad characteristics from our hearts and from our thoughts, then it doesn't matter how physically beautiful we become. It doesn't matter how rich we become, because Mawlana mentioned also economic aspect. We will not be attractive to people. And conversely, I mean, you look at the attraction of Mawlana Shaykh Nazim. When he was a very senior person, and the people who used to visit him and gather around him, and had really deep love for him. And also my first Sheikh, Sufi Abdullah. You see these great Sheikhs, and not just Sheikhs, also, there were the people in society. They've lived very good lives in terms of, caring about other people, caring about society, having love in their hearts for people. And they are beautiful people. I mean, even if you look at someone who is like David Attenborough. David Attenborough, as far as I know, is an atheist. He's not someone who follows a religion, but he is a beautiful person because he has love in his heart. He's cultivated good character throughout his life, even though he's not a person of faith. And the attraction people have towards David Attenborough even though, again, he's quite a senior person. So, also Sean Connery is another classic example. I mean, you look at the attraction towards Sean Connery that to this day he has, even though, again, he's quite a senior person. But again, he's a very well-mannered, nice person. People want to be around him. And there are many examples of people like this. But if we only focus on the outward appearance, then we become like an empty shell. Or as Mawlana Shaykh Nazim said, like these the mannequins in the clothes shops made of plastic. We're not real people. We lose something. Is what makes us human, or what makes us an attractive and interesting human being. So this is really something. It's in today's world as well. This is something which is becoming an epidemic. It's not just a small problem. I mean, people go on about this coronavirus, but if you look now, the number of relationships that have discord within them, and apparently compatible people in some. I mean, not every relationship is always that compatible, but apparently compatible people. Sometimes they've been together for years and then it all starts to break apart. And yet the two partners are both lovely people and you know them both as your friends. But something's broken down. And this used to be something this was a phenomenon that's been around obviously a long time, but the rate of it in recent years seems to have really increased. And it's some people, they say it's because of economic factors, but if it was really economic, for sure the previous generation to my generation was a lot poorer than we are. Maybe with millennials there's some question mark on the economy and their economic opportunities in many parts of the world due to changing trends, which I'm not going to go into now. But certainly my generation, who are in our 40s and 50s now, are better off than our parents' generation, who are in their 70s. And yet the satisfaction level that people of our generation are feeling, generally as a trend, you will get exceptions, seems to be less than what our parents had. And the tolerance level, what people will because I mean resilience is what I'm looking, not tolerance so much, because people, I can understand, I mean, if people are in a bad relationship and it's intolerable and there's a risk of some bigger problems, then yes, it's understandable why those relationships would break down. But where that isn't the case, I mean, the resilience that people had in the previous generation is a lot more than the resilience that people seem to have today. And something to reflect upon is what are people looking for in life? I mean, what is it that people value? I mean, we're heading into a time now where the whole economic structure of society is likely to change within the next 10 or 20 years due to many tasks being automated that previously weren't. There are some economists talking about a new useless class that's developing, separate from the upper class, the middle class and the working class. And there's governments posing, and not just governments, but also think tanks that are putting forward the idea of universal basic income to try to counter this problem that this is going to cause. Because there's so many jobs that people have today which will be gone within the next 20 years. One example is taxi drivers. At the moment, you've got lots of taxi drivers, but soon cars will be widely available that don't need a driver. So whether you own the car yourself and it's your own personal car, or whether you are using a taxi service, there won't necessarily be a driver there. Now, if you're a taxi company and you can employ, let's say 20 taxis in your company for a town, and you've obviously got the costs of running those taxis, and then on top of that you've got the wages of the taxi drivers. Now, if you're running this company, or you start it up, and you can have 20 taxis and they're automated, they don't need drivers, and the results of the testing so far indicates that when this technology is perfected, they will actually be safer than cars driven by people. So potentially these self-driving taxis of the future could be safer than the taxis that are driven by human beings today. Now, should that be what happens, then taxi drivers are going to be a thing of the past. Now, you just think, I'm just using one example here. How many taxi drivers across the United Kingdom, or in the United States, or any country in the world? All of those people suddenly without work. Also at airports, you've already got automatic checking in. You don't really need as many people at the counters to be able to check in the people who are flying. While in future, it could be almost completely automated. Supermarket checkouts, they're already being replaced by automated machines. And this is only increasing. They first brought them in, you would go to the supermarket, there'd be one or two of these things. Now there's about 9 or 10. Some supermarkets even more. So in future, you're going to go to the supermarket, and there might only be a handful of people looking after the whole supermarket. And I'm talking about a big hypermarket when I'm saying this. I'm not talking about a small supermarket on a street corner. There might only be a handful of people who are actually looking after the supermarket, and everything else is automated. I mean, they're even developing robots that could stack shelves. I mean, if everything gets automated like that, I mean, it's what it's going to mean is there's going to be a massive shake-up in the economy. And lots of people who have jobs at the moment are going to be out of work. And then there's going to be a change in wages. And how's that going to affect people? And how's that going to affect relationships? So we are living in testing times as well, but we're not quite there yet. And going back to what I was saying previously, I mean, my generation is actually better off than our parents' generation, by and large, around the world. And yet it seems to be experiencing a lot more relationship problems, people who are more likely to get divorced, more likely to have multiple relationships in their lives. And, some people, they're just going with the trend, and they're like thinking this is a good thing, but I'm wondering, what are the consequences of all of this going to be? I have lots of people who have contacted me over the years, and I've had to support them through some of these problems and the pain that it causes. Now, in some cases they do go on to find another partner, and in some cases they are happier. But in other cases they have another relationship, that relationship breaks down, they have another relationship. I mean, we are entering a time when people are going through a lot of pain in relationships, and often ending up single with no one there for them, no family around them, into old age. And although people put a brave face on it, a lot of these people aren't happy. So it indicates that something's going terribly wrong. in society. And you know, why do these relationships break down? Sometimes people say it's for economic reasons, but if our generation's been better off than the previous generation, is it really? Or is it because people's expectations and desires? I mean, if we expect things that are unrealistic, then obviously we're going to be forever looking for the impossible or for the unlikely, instead of appreciating what we've already got. So, and this is some of the things that Mawlana Shaykh Nazim was alluding to in this talk. You know, what kind of homes are people going to have in the future? And how can people be happy if everything is falling apart and breaking down? And what's the solution to that? There's no easy answers. I'm not going to give the answer, but I thought, you know, I'd read some of this sohbet for people to think about, to reflect upon, because this is a serious problem now, and a lot of people are suffering. And you know, we have to look towards the trends that are happening at the moment in the world, and how to make the future better, bearing in mind what things are happening. So we have to be aware of what's going on around us. But all of us have some capacity that we can influence, either over our own lives and our own families, or within our communities. And we also, very importantly, we have the thing that we can really control. The only thing that we can actually really control is ourselves. But you have to focus on that and work on that in order to be able to do it. It doesn't come naturally. You know, a lot of people think they control themselves, but if you no, it's, you know, something happens and they act involuntarily or automatically. This isn't control. You know, if you do something like, you know, something disturbs your peace and you get very easily angered or upset, instead of managing the situation and finding ways to remain calmer and to think things through, then you're not in control of yourself. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ himself cautioned against anger. So, some points to think about. I wish everybody all the very best. May Allah forgive me if anything which I have said or done is troubling for people, or if I've made any mistakes. And may Allah bless all of you and grant you success in whatever you're doing in your lives and all the good things. And Allah bless you and your families, keep you in good health and well-being, and grant you success in both this life and in the hereafter. For the sake of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa salim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa salim. Salli Rabbi wa salim ala jami' anbiya'i wa mursalin wa ala kulli ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.